challenge can change plans for mainland authority in Hong Kong. And Taiwan pledges to boost its defense budget, warning China against military aggression. Good evening. Hong Kong's crackdown on drug dealers continues to gather pace today as authorities shut down 2 establishments in Tsim Sha Tsui. 14 people have been arrested by police for dealing drugs. One of the locations was an illegal Kowloon bar disguised as a children's centre. Cocaine, ketamine and methamphetamine worth around $7,000 was seized in the early morning raid in Tsim Sha Tsui, which also hit another bar, that one legal. 9 men and 5 women, aged between 25 and 59, were detained in the operation on Hau Fook Street and Hillwood Road. The illegal bar in Hau Fook Street was said to be disguised as a children's centre. Authorities said some of the suspects were believed to be triad members. They also seized 2 watermelon knives and a long electric torch. Elsie Leung continues to publicly defend China's new checkpoint in Hong Kong at the new high-speed rail link terminal. The pro-Beijing legal heavyweights took to the airwaves in local media again today, defiantly saying that no legal challenge will be able to overturn the decision to allow mainland law in the SAR. On a radio programme this morning, the former Justice Chief said the plan for Joint Checkpoint Authority at the West Kowloon Station wasn't an order from Beijing, but an arrangement Hong Kong's government thought was best for the city. Leung added that the plan doesn't undermine the implementation of one country, 2 systems or the high degree of autonomy in Hong Kong, as it doesn't impose additional liabilities or restrictions on the city.
To facilitate a joint immigration arrangement at the terminus, you need to allow mainland officials to conduct checks somewhere there. It's a consensual agreement, and this is the price that comes with achieving that purpose. It's not ceding part of the territory to someone else or unconditionally giving up part of our land.
Well, it was a busy day for firefighters after a massive yellow banner that read "Safeguard Hong Kong" was hung at the peak of Lion Rock in Kowloon. Police received reports about the banner at around 7 a.m. It was almost blown away by strong winds, but was removed before noon. It's not yet known who hung it up, but putting up enormous yellow banners on Lion Rock has been a gesture by democracy activists since the Occupy protests 3 years ago. Well, that followed a fire breaking out in an apartment in Kwai Chung's Wafeng Garden this morning, which left 1 man in a critical condition. Amateur video showed black smoke billowing out of the flat. Authorities said firefighters saved 3 people who were trapped inside, among them a 72-year-old man who was taken to Princess Margaret Hospital. It took about an hour to put out the flames, and nearby residents were also evacuated. The cause of the fire is currently being investigated. Medical representatives in Hong Kong have called on members of the public to sign up as organ donors, but said the government shouldn't enforce an opt-out policy if it lacks general consensus. The current number of people who are in the centralised donation register stands at around 278,000. That is just 3% of Hong Kong's total population. Industry reps say the public need more time to discuss such an arrangement, adding that presumed consent might create more tension between medical workers and patients' families. Turning to regional news, Taiwan has announced a boost to its defense budget. President Tsai Ing-wen has warned China that tensions are rising as Beijing's military aggression grows. The mainland has stepped up military drills since Tsai's pro-independence party took power last year. Hitting back, Tsai said her island wouldn't be passive in the face of a more hawkish China.
We are placed within a constantly changing geopolitical environment. The aspirations of China in military expansion in the region are becoming more and more apparent. The tension over the Korean Peninsula, the sovereignty disputes in East Asia and the South China Sea are all making the situation in the region more complex.
Islamic State has claimed responsibility for yesterday's deadly attack in Egypt. A gunman killed at least 11 people as he targeted a Coptic Orthodox church and a Christian-owned shop near the capital, Cairo. Grace Lee has the latest, a warning some viewers may find these images distressing.
Grief and anger at the funeral for victims of a deadly attack in Cairo. The death toll climbing to 11 people. She had 3 girls, shouts one woman, as mourners gathered to pay their respects. Authorities say the gunman first opened fire at a Christian-owned shop, killing 2 people before moving on to a church in southern Cairo, where the deadly rampage continued. Islamic State has now claimed responsibility for Friday's attack, but so far hasn't provided any evidence for the claim. The shooter, who was wounded and arrested, has been identified, and authorities say he's carried out several attacks since last year. Earlier, outside a hospital where victims were being treated, family members and witnesses described the scene.
As she was leaving the church with her 2 girls, the terrorist was turning to shoot them, and then he fell on the ground, so she tried to help him up. He looked at her, got up and shot her. When will this stop?
Among those dead, a police officer who witnesses say died while trying to close the church gate to stop the gunman from getting in. Islamic militants have claimed several attacks on Egypt's Christian minority in recent years, including 2 bombings in April and a 2016 blast at Cairo's largest Coptic cathedral that killed 28 people. Police are stepping up security measures around churches ahead of Coptic Christmas celebrations in January.
Protests in Iran have spread to several cities as discontent over rising prices and corruption there have morphed into the largest wave of demonstrations against the government since 2009. Video on social media claimed to show Iranian police using water cannons trying to disperse protesters in the city of Kermanshah in the west of the country. Official sources have said several people have been arrested in the capital, Tehran. Annual cross-country rallies were scheduled for today to commemorate pro-government demonstrations held in 2009, according to state media. The US condemned Iranian government actions on Twitter. Donald Trump said people were fed up with the Iranian regime's corruption and its squandering of the nation's wealth to fund terrorism abroad. The Iranian government, Trump said, should respect people's rights, including their right to express themselves. All right, coming up next, the latest from the world of business. Well, US stocks closed out their best year since 2013 on a down note, with losses in tech and financial stocks at the close in Wall Street yesterday. Markets hit a series of record highs this year, riding on strong economic growth, solid corporate earnings and low interest rates. The S&P 500 has surged 20%, while the Dow added more than 25% and the Nasdaq about 29%. Not such a quiet day, perhaps unsurprisingly, for the president, though. Donald Trump yesterday picked a fight with Amazon by calling for the US Postal Service to raise the cost of shipping. Caroline Woods has more.
Sort of set the tone differently.
U.S. President Donald Trump targeted Amazon, calling the U.S. Postal Service to hike prices to recoup costs. Trump wrote on Twitter, quote, "Why is the United States Post Office, which is losing many billions of dollars a year while charging Amazon and others so little to deliver their packages, making Amazon richer and the post office dumber and poorer? Should be charging much more."
This is not the first time that Trump has criticized Amazon in particular, or an entity affiliated with Jeff Bezos, and this is also not the first time that he has criticized a U.S. government agency or a U.S. government entity, and this is also not the first time that he has criticized a private company.
The USPS is an independent agency within the federal government. It does not receive tax dollars for operating expenses, according to its website. It makes up a significant portion of the $1.4 trillion U.S. delivery industry. Other players include FedEx and United Parcel Service, or UPS.
If you look at 2017, Amazon's rocky relationship with the president coincided with a spectacular year, both for the business and the stock. So my guess is the business will continue to do well, whatever the president says or thinks.
Amazon was founded by Jeff Bezos, who remains the chief executive officer of the retail giant. Bezos also owns the Washington Post, a newspaper that Trump has repeatedly railed against in his criticisms of the news media. Representatives for the White House and Amazon were not immediately available for comment.
Now, proven investment or predictable flop? If you were to guess what I'm about to talk about, chances are you'd probably say it's Bitcoin, right? Well, whatever side you're on, the cryptocurrency has certainly taken the financial world by surprise. In 2017, it finished the last trading day of the year yesterday, back above the $14,000 mark, following a late December plunge. And as we start 2018, there are a growing number of investor warnings about the asset. Kate King has more.
Anything that goes up can come down. At least that's what the Bitcoin skeptics say.
When Bitcoin collapses and people discover that it's not a liquid currency, that's going to be another wake up and smell the coffee moment.
Whatever side of the fence you're on, the cryptocurrency has everyone talking. Bitcoin began the year with a value of $1,000 per coin. By mid-December, it had almost cracked $20,000. Few predicted its rise. Even those who dared to were blown out of the water.
So where do we go from here? I think the next potential target by mid next year for us in 2018 would be 14,000 for Bitcoin.
Somewhere along the way, Bitcoin changed from a currency to an asset class, but its volatility has global financiers on edge. From central banks to governments, the warnings are becoming more frequent as everyday consumers weigh up the risks of being left behind or being caught in a bubble.
I recommend to people that they do their research and understand exactly what it is that they're buying. I think if you look from a charting perspective, Bitcoin has separated now so far from the 200-day moving average that you would have to have a very good reason to invest at this particular point, we believe.
Cybersecurity experts are worried too. They say there's not enough regulation to protect consumers from scammers and hackers, while Bitcoin's anonymity also rings alarm bells.
It presents ample reason for organized crime in particular to participate in this. And I think it seems like we are one step away from what you just described, from actually having Bitcoin laundering.
Still, there's tales of people mortgaging their house for a chance to get their hands on 2017's hottest investment, and those who got in early are laughing all the way to the bank. At the time of its invention in 2010, Bitcoin could have been purchased for just 6 cents.
No doubt a popular Christmas present as well. OK, time for a short break, but don't go away. You'll want to hear this one. We'll be telling you which rock stars hit and missed the money notes in 2017. For those at the top of the list, it certainly sounds like a beautiful day.